Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a special and another segment of Asaph Cafe. I am your host, Asaph Adonai, and as you can see, we're in a more intimate setting at the MCAT studio here for today's cafe.
Oh, that's because the studio's being used for whatever reason. I don't know.
And this is going to be fun, and we can use our imagination on the backdrops because we'll put the backdrop on later. So we're just recording it in this room. So instead of me saying affectionately on my left, this time affectionately on my right. Our ancient rocker, Emmett.
Yeah.
And I set the thing on noon on purpose on the watch, even though it's not actually noon. You want to start us off?
Heavenly Father, bless our time together and our soda pop together, and bless it and bless the show in Jesus' name.
Thank you, my friend. So, anyway, this is going to be fun. Let me play for a little bit and see how it sounds.
I haven't been on the cafe for a while, you know, Holy Thursday and a few other things with me, so I haven't been on the cafe for a while, you know.
Same here, too. I've been on the show while I had to play, you know.
Yeah.
I played for the Easter holiday season.
Oh, yeah.
How was your Easter?
You know what? This is going to sound very strange. It's supposed to be a happy day. It wasn't for me because of the cloudy, rainy weather. You see, I like an Easter that's sunny and warm.
Okay, yeah. But you know, we live in Montana too, you know.
Yeah, I know, but at the same time, I've never seen an Easter this dreary. Never. And I was cold. I should have worn my coat, my hat, and my gloves. And it was April 21st.
Okay.
But no, I just wore my sweater, and I was cool like it was winter. Oh, I just hated it. Just the dreariest, just awful.
Yeah, I guess the weather was bad, but I still appreciated the holiday. And
I appreciate the holiday for the spiritual significance.
Yeah,
that's it.
And I also appreciate hearing about the resurrection of Christ and being familiar with all those.
Oh yeah, that's very good. That's very good.
Yeah, I appreciated all that.
I went to the noon mass because I slept until past 10, you know. So we did St. Francis, you know.
This is gonna be most curious when we finish taping this.
Yeah.
Because Scott's gonna put more than one backdrop in.
Yeah, it's just still, so. You know, I've never had an Easter like that. Oh, they've always been sunny, except for 1998 in the bitter. It was very cloudy and cold, but that was it, you know.
Well, I'm glad you had a wonderful Easter holiday. I did.
Yeah. At least it's sunny now, but it's kind of cold. I need my leather jacket. Is it ever going to be spring or summer? I guess the answer is not.
It will eventually. But I just listened to the Christian radio and just got re-familiar with listening to the crucifixion, the burial and the resurrection of Christ, and the significance and how important that was for humanity and myself personally, you know. So I was glad to listen to all that again.
Wonderful.
Get re-familiar. Because, you know, a whole year goes by, you don't think about Easter until the holiday comes. So it's kind of fresh to get re-familiar.
I know, that's very good,
and stuff like that. Oh, I'm gonna play a little Easter tune for you. It's called "Hear the Bells Ringing."
Oh yeah. They play that on Lawrence Welk show often. Yes. Oh well. That was Christmas, so I don't know this one.
Let me play it for you. I'll tell you about this. Boy, let me do that whole start that whole song over. I didn't like the way I did it. It's called "Hear the Bells Ringing." That's the first part.
Yep.
You recognize the part?
Nope, I don't.
I'll explain in a moment. It talks about the resurrection of Christ.
Interesting.
Hear the bells ringing. They're singing that we can be born again as part of the lyrics. That first part. And then It talks about the triumphant rise of Christ, and
interesting.
It's just a beautiful song, really.
Interesting.
It doesn't quite go as fast as I portrayed it, but because I'm doing a technical version, but it's a beautiful song. And there's another song called Ali Ali. Have you ever heard of it?
You've played it for me.
Yeah, I'll do a piece of it. It's a very slow, kind of a reverent song. It goes something like this.
Didn't you play it for me when I was at your house? I think you did.
I might have.
Yeah.
Here's the melody. You recognize it?
Well, from what you played for me at your house, yes.
I'm going to stop right there because it'd take too long to do it all the way through. But that's called Ali Ali. And that also represents the crucifixion and so on. That's more of a worshipful kind of a slower song than the Hear the Bells Ringing. Hear the Bells Ringing is more of a lively, because that's the resurrection, whereas Ali Ali covers the sufferings of Christ. The
Eli, Leba Sabachthani.
Yeah, and that's
Eli.
It's spelled Eli, Ali.
Yeah,
that's the
Elias, yes, Eli, yeah, I get it now.
Yeah, and so that's more of a reverential, but they're both beautiful songs in their own right, you know, and stuff. Let's talk about the resurrection for a bit before I get onto the golf subject.
Yeah.
You know, to remind the television audience, whatever a person's religious beliefs are in the Christian world, Christ came on a rescue mission.
Exactly.
To take the judgment of God in our place, penalty for our sin, because, you know, people don't like to hear this. We've talked about this before. There's a death penalty because of our sin.
Right.
And so God sent His Son to take that death penalty on our behalf.
Right.
By dying on the cross. And I heard a sermon that I thought was really interesting. Some people think that Christ died and actually went into hell. But I think He suffered hell when He was on the cross.
He did.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Between the pain, the thirst, the darkness, the separation from His Father.
Yes, absolutely.
And,
he would have gone to limbo. Yeah. He would have gone to limbo where the souls of the just were, not into hell with where the damned are. He wasn't there to rescue the damned who had been condemned eternally, obviously.
Yeah, but you know, I mean, it's just like a theological thing.
Yeah,
you know, some I used to think that He actually went into hell, not suffering. My take on it, and again, I'm not a theologian, so I'll put a disclaimer on this. My understanding was He went into hell or Hades not to suffer, but to take the righteous dead out of there.
Right. But they weren't in the hell of the damned. They were in limbo. They were not in the hell of the damned.
No, yeah, well, my understanding is before the cross, everybody went to Hades, but Hades had two compartments. One was called Abraham's bosom, which was the paradise, and the other one was the suffering side. Now, I think that, and again, I'm not a theologian, this is my opinion. I think Christ, after when He died and committed His Spirit, went into hell to take the righteous dead out of that Abraham bosom into heaven.
Yeah, which wasn't hell. Abraham's bosom was not hell.
No, not hell.
The hell of the damned.
That was the
I know the Apostles' Creed says he goes into hell, rose again on the third day. I know, but it wasn't the hell of the damned. You know?
No, I think
where the devil
I think he went in there to take the righteous dead out of Abraham.
Right. Yes, exactly. Which is a very nice place with flowers.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Or maybe some other places that looked like this and
I think
kind
it
of
was like a type of heaven myself.
Oh yeah, kind of
like
different compartments. Yeah, exactly.
He goes and takes them into heaven, and that was over a 3-day period, obviously.
Exactly.
And then He rose again. But whatever is right. Or whatever the theologians, the main thing is, the main purpose which was He paid for our sins and rose on the third day. Yeah. And so that's what we were celebrating on these Easter holidays. And that's kind of cool to remember that. Yeah. You know, I'm starting to like Easter a little bit better than Christmas. I like Christmas as far as the the feeling, the atmosphere, the snow, the watching Charlie Brown, all that, and hearing about the baby Christ. But some people, I think,
I prefer Easter myself.
Easter because that's more salvation and
exactly.
So. But I'm glad you had a wonderful Easter holiday. I did.
Oh yeah, that's often what I often do, and I did again. I had some wonderful wine, and I read my 2 children's books that I love. The Easter Story. That's a small children's book for ages 3 to 5 about who Jesus was, that he died for our sins. And I put on music kind of like that, kind of like George Winston music, da 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 da, summer music or soft guitar. And then Corduroy's Easter Party. Corduroy was based on a series of books, first from the 60s. I've already talked about Corduroy, I know.
Yeah.
Where a stuffed teddy bear lost one of his overalls, and he had been befriended by an African-American child in a big city. But for some reason, and we don't know, maybe they made a book and I didn't see it, he moved out to the forest. Corduroy moved to a tiny town in the forest and had his cabin in a meadow with a dogwood tree, and had some other nice stuffed animal friends like Mouse and Puppy and Dolly and Rabbit, and just nicest thing. They were preparing for an Easter party. They were at the playground, but Corduroy didn't know whether the Easter Bunny was real. I mean, no one has ever seen the Easter Bunny, but he didn't want to spoil the fun. He kept his downs to himself, so they were planning an Easter party at his house, and they got everything, the Easter eggs. They did show the Easter Bunny. The Easter Bunny that was protected, not protected, but displayed, portrayed. And the way they drew the Easter Bunny was like a wild rabbit you'd see in the wilderness. A wild hare, a wild rabbit, beautifully done, just more like a wild animal. Well, the Easter Bunny kept looking at them, and then they were just a nice thing. Finally, they had their Easter party, and then, they were doing the bunny dance and that kind of thing, just the Easter dance, and the bunny hop, and just really nice. Then they went out to find Easter eggs, but still there was no sign of you-know-who. But when they got back to Corduroy's cabin, guess what? They found all this candy and that kind of thing, and even a note saying, "Have fun, your friend, the Easter Bunny."
Okay.
And then Corduroy realized the Easter Bunny is real, and that was wonderful.
That reminds me of Charlie Brown, looking for the Easter Beagle.
Yeah. The Easter what?
The Easter Beagle.
Oh, I didn't see that.
A beagle is a dog. So
yes.
So of course Snoopy is a beagle because he's a dog. So
yeah, I didn't even see that one.
Well, it was just this cute little,
Oh.
And I know that Easter is really about Christ. I understand that, but I think it's fun to.
Oh, I think it's wonderful. It looks like heaven. It reminded me of heaven.
It's fun as long as you can look at it in its proper context.
Exactly.
Like they have churches that have serious Easter service, and then for fun they just have a little Easter.
Oh yeah, that's wonderful.
And I think that's harmless.
And it looked like heaven. The book looked like heaven. I often thought, Dolly might have been the soul of a little girl that passed on to heaven, and this is her heaven. It just brings me to tears practically.
That I don't know. But getting back to Easter egg hunt, I think it's harmless. And getting back to Easter Beagle, Linus and Charlie Brown, they all wanted to see the Easter Beagle, and of course Sally gets frustrated because she doesn't think she believes in it. And then all of a sudden you see an image coming, somebody hopping on the screen.
Oh, yeah.
And it's Snoopy with this basket, these eggs, and he's just hopping along.
Oh, I don't even remember that. Yeah.
It's one of the newer Charlie Brown cartoons. He's throwing eggs to Charlie Brown and eggs to Linus and Schroeder and all the rest. They're all smiling. It's just a cute little.
I've heard that in real life, beagles are actually dangerous. You wouldn't want one as a pet. They can be biting, being extremely dangerous.
That I don't know. I've never had a beagle dog for real, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But in the Charlie Brown cartoon, they're harmless.
Oh, yeah.
And it's fun. Now, I want to briefly talk about golf. I know you don't know a thing about it, but I'll just tell you. First of all, I'll try to explain it in a childlike way so you can get some kind of familiar.
Well, I do know that Rush Limbaugh played over the Easter weekend with the Trumpster, Donald Trump, on one of his golf courses.
Oh, I didn't
What an honor! Because I listened to the Rush Limbaugh program, and what an honor! It was on Good Friday, and I don't think that would have been a good time to play golf.
I think that would have been a pretty cool, if it's the President of the United States.
Man, I would have been honored. I would have had to ask the President, now, Mr. Trump, I don't know a thing about golf, but I'd be honored to play with you. Can I please play golf with you? You have to teach me.
A few little basic
Wow, and I would have been so honored because you guys know how much I love the Trumpster.
Anyway, getting back to golf, you're basically just trying to aim for that little tiny hole with the golf club and so on. And they've got names which I won't necessarily get into, but I'm just explaining the basic of the basics. You're trying to get the shots into the hole, and you want to do it in as less shots as possible, if I understand. Because the more shots it takes you to get it in there, puts you further behind. And the shorter amount of time it takes you to get the ball in the hole, you get more points or something, if I understand that game. And that's how you win. So that's kind of a brief flyover of the game. And of course, Tiger Woods, I don't know if you know a lot about him.
I know nothing about Tiger Woods.
Okay, Tiger Woods.
He's not a tiger, I guess.
No, that's his
name. He's a human being, okay.
Anyway, he was the #1 golfer for a very long time in current time. And he had some struggles, health issues and things, and surgeries like that happens to athletes. So he kind of fell out of the #1 setting for something like 10 years, just with health issues and stuff. And just this year, 2019, about a month or so ago, he made a tremendous comeback to win the Masters. Now the Masters is like the top golf tournament, and whoever wins that gets a green jacket. So Tiger, out of nowhere, with all the surgeries he had, he just came back and he won that in 2019, which is considered the biggest comeback in history because he hadn't won a major in like 10 years. And all of a sudden, he's back. Now he's #1 again, and he's won that jacket 5 times.
Did you know that on the Charter cable, they actually have a golf channel? I've seen it.
Yeah. It's more detailed than what I'm explaining. I'm just, giving a brief generic version. But that's a tremendous victory for what Tiger Woods has been through health-wise to come back. And he is only 3 games away from being the #1 golfer in all history. He's already surpassed Arnold Palmer. You probably won't know him.
No, don't know.
Arnold Palmer was like the #1 golfer in the 60s.
Oh.
And there was another golfer named Jack Nicklaus who was like the king of golf. Period. And now Tiger Woods is 3 games away from surpassing even Jack Nicklaus' record. So I just think that's an amazing feat. Because Tiger Woods is like 43 now.
Yeah. I'll admit, golf courses are beautiful. They're beautiful, but I would hate to play them on a cloudy day. I would want to play them on a sunny day.
But it's no different than football, when they're playing football in the snow and the rain.
And that would depress me too.
Yeah, but they're trained athletes, so the golf, it's the same thing. They play in the rain and all, unless it's like a blizzard or a hurricane. They're not gonna have a tournament, obviously, I just wanted to talk about that briefly on the cafe. Just mention golf.
If I had to play a sport, I would probably want to play croquet. It's more of a gentleman's game.
Yeah, I would too. Because you don't have to worry about getting hit by a baseball going 90 miles an hour through your head.
All you do is do like this.
Tackled,
And put in the little things and tap the ball. Well, actually, did you remember I talked to you about Alf? Haven't I?
Yeah.
They did a hilarious show. One of the hilarious was where they were in the backyard and they were all playing croquet.
Okay.
And he said, I don't understand. On Melmac, we called it muck sucking. Here's why. He took the croquet mallet and hit Willie right in the kneecap, and Willie went into the mud. And said, well, see why we called it muck sucking? And Willie was in a lot of pain, and he said, stay away from me. And then he went back and then asked Brian, a little kid, well, I guess, Brian, it's just you and me, you little muck sucker. And then Brian said, I'm going inside. You're too dangerous to play with. It was hilarious. Hello?
Yeah.
Hello?
Oh, hi, wrong room, sorry.
Oh. But then he got hit on the head with the mallet because he flew the mountain in and hit his head, and then he had a dream about his guardian angel, kind of like, what was that movie?
Okay, like...
And I don't remember that movie about, where someone dies and realizes how better it would be if they were...
It's a Wonderful Life.
It's a Wonderful Life.
The Jimmy Stewart film, where...
It was similar to that, yeah.
Is trying to earn his wings and
so it's kind of similar to that. It was kind of funny.
That's probably where they got the idea.
It was where they got the idea.
That movie.
But he thought it'd be better if the Tanners never met me. I would be better if I just stayed on Melon. Please,
And
congratulated someone else, and
his life would be like without the Tanners. Yeah,
and
that's based on that.
Yeah, and it was funny. I liked it, but that's funny. But otherwise, I wouldn't play mucksucking if you and I were, playing croquet together. I'm not going to hit you over the,
I would appreciate. I know what it's like to get hit in the shin with a mallet.
Yeah.
We played field hockey when I was in high school, and one of the students accidentally hit me right in the shin. And I never felt much pain. Such pain and I was rolled over. I was like, I was crying. I was in such pain. I think I was a sophomore in high school when that happened. It hurt.
Yeah.
I mean, it just really hurt.
Yeah. Did I told you about Caillou, about that kid, on Sprout TV, with the 4-year-old who, explores everything. His grandpa took him out to the field or a garden to play croquet. And Grandpa still had his best friend George with him. They were both elderly gentlemen, and George and he were been playing croquet since they were like 7. I mean, that friendship lasted till they were 80s, and I think that's the way friendship should last.
Yeah.
But Caillou learned how to play croquet, and he almost won. It was really nice, and just wonderful. It was nice and sweet. Like, if I had to play a sport, it would be croquet, because it's more of a gentleman's game, There's no competition, there's no exercise, there's no athletics.
Yeah, I think I would like to play a more mild game like that too if I were.
And you get to wear a cricket. It's kind of similar to cricket in England, or maybe that's where
let's go see.
And a cricket outfit, and it's like jolly good. Let us have some drinks and let us play croquet in our cricket suit. That's fine by me. Then we get our tea and crumpets with the Queen. That's more my style. I could not handle football. For one, I don't have the physique. Second of all, I don't want the concussions. Third, all that competition. Hot, be a man. What kind of a man? No way. That's too much like the army. No way.
Football, it's okay. It doesn't work for me, but everybody is different. If I had to choose a really intricate sport, I would prefer gymnastics myself.
I don't even like that. I guess I just don't like exercise.
I did it when I was in high school.
Yeah, because we're forced to play PE, which I hated.
No, we weren't forced. I liked it. I really I did gymnastics. I used to do the parallel bar. Well, I was 40 years younger, and that's the parallel bar where you put on your shoulders, you can flip your body up. I could actually do that at one time, and I used to get on the parallel bar, and then I'd flip over and just land on the top of the bar. That was fun. And I did the horse. The horse was fun.
Oh, yeah.
And I also did a little tumbling on the mat, that sort of thing. Nothing spectacular like Olympic material.
Yeah,
but I was good enough at that time in my life to do it. So I did.
In Jurassic Park 2, there was this little kid who was cut from the team. She was about 13. She was, one of the people's children. I can't remember her name. The guy was into chaos theory. Well, they were running around being chased by velociraptors. She found a high bar, kind of similar, jumped onto it, swung, and hit one of the velociraptors with her feet and knocked out the velociraptor. And then she finally fell back to the ground, and her father asked, "They cut you from the team?" And that was funny, Spin inside the dryer.
This is a very old show.
Isn't that from Cheers or Friends?
Close. Hill Street Blues.
Hill Street Blues.
Yeah, all those songs like Cheers and so on. They kind of sound similar because they come out in that time period. What, the 80s? I think it was.
Yes. Well, the 70s, I think even the Hill Street Blues was first in the 70s, wasn't it? Or maybe it was in the early 80s.
It might have been early 80s. But
yeah,
those shows like Cheers and Hill Street Blues, they kind of all sound similar to themes,
I know.
You know?
I never cared for any of them, you know.
I used to watch Hill Street Blues. It was a tamer version of Law and Order to me.
What was it even about?
It was a police show, just like Law and Order.
I did not know that.
The only thing is it wasn't as intense because that was a different time period.
Right.
They more dealt with maybe thugs or, hookers or something like that.
For some reason, I thought it was a comedy about being in a bar again.
Hill Street Blues was an actual police drama.
Boy, I didn't even know that.
In fact, it was one of the best dramas in that time period. But then by the time
Law and
Order came out, that surpassed all police shows because they were really more relatable. They were more the storytelling was just more intense.
Oh yeah, more what's really going on.
And I think that's why that show works to this day.
It does. It's been over 25 years, hasn't it, or so? Yeah,
something like that. Yeah.
I read it on TV Guide. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it still on Thursday?
Yeah, I think so. Let's see if you know this song.
I haven't seen the newer ones in so long. I just watched the ones on Channel 53 USA. They have all the old reruns and some of the newer stuff.
Tell me if you know this song.
Nope.
Don't recognize it?
Nope.
Really? I'll do it again. Still don't know it, huh?
Nope.
It's a drama. Here's the conclusion. That is called Diagnosis Murder.
Oh, I've heard of it. Not
that is the theme song. No, that's a drama too. That's a pretty good drama actually for that time period. Why don't you bring your trash can near you if you want?
I didn't.
Well, anyway, getting back to Diagnosis Murder, Dick Van Dyke is this lead character. He plays this surgeon, this physician, who solves murders in the medical field, if that makes any sense. Like sometimes they'll be preparing a body that has passed on in the coroner's office, and they have to figure out what caused this person to die. And that's where the mystery of that show comes in, because they always find out that this man didn't die from this particular whatever. It was just a mystery. And it was different, but it worked. And of course, all these shows I'm talking about are in the past, obviously. Law and Order, well, not Law and Order, but Hill Street Blues, Cheers. You know, these shows are like 20, 30 years old. Some of them now. And it makes you feel old because when I watch it, I see it like when it was still fresh, and you keep forgetting that it's like 20, 30 years old. Diagnosis Murder, I think that came out in the 80s. And I used to watch that show too. It had some pretty good cast on there. And there are just some other dramas, you know, a lot of dramas that came out in that time period. So, but anyway, I just thought you might know that. Diagnosis Murder.
Never watched it.
And of course, they're running the Perry Mason reruns on MeTV.
Yeah, I never watched Perry Mason either. Yeah.
You know, my parents used to watch Perry Mason when I was a little boy, and in its time, it was considered one of the best dramas of that time period, like the 60s. Because if you think about it, Raymond Burr's character, Perry Mason, he is a defense attorney defending people who are accused of murder. And what was interesting about that series was they would have an actual murder before they got to the courtroom. They didn't just start in the courtroom. It would show the lives of ordinary people, and somebody would commit a crime, and then they would be arrested by the police, and then of course Perry Mason would be called, and that's where his character comes into play. And he has to prove their innocence against odds. And he was always up against Mr. Berger, Hamilton Berger, who was the prosecuting attorney.
Was he a hamburger?
No, that was his name. And he always made Perry Mason miserable in that series because he was always trying to find something on the killer, alleged accused killer. So, and of course, Perry Mason would end up winning the case, solving the case. It was just, they've had drama TV for a long time, and of course, the drama TVs of the past are not as intense like Law and Order.
Oh yeah.
It's impressive that Law and Order's been on for 25 years.
Well, it's the only thing that I can really relate to. I can't relate to a lot of murder mysteries or whodunit.
Well, they're just mysteries like whodunit,
But at the same time, it talks about taboo subjects like child molestation or Law and Order SVU.
Yeah, well, see, they didn't cover those topics back in the 60s, obviously, in the 70s, and even in the 80s. They didn't cover that. But we live in a time, and I'm not saying political correct, we just live in a time where that's more relatable now to
sadly
dramas like that. And I like SVU.
I love SVU.
I just think that's so relatable.
Sometimes they run into episodes that I can't get into. It's not that it's politically correct, but it's doing the same thing over and over again, like someone is raped by a cellist and we have to figure who done it. Was it the cellist, the cello person? Was it her employer at college? Was her a college professor? Or was it the butler? It's like, that is just to rehash the same thing.
Yeah, after 20 years, you'd think it'd be running out of ideas.
Sometimes it is, but sometimes it's really gripping. Oh yeah.
I've seen
the ones with William Lewis. Those are the scariest. That William Lewis was a super criminal. Not
I remember
a super
that guy.
villain. A super villain. The closest thing you might come to a super villain like you've ever seen. Just this sadistic, horrible psychopath.
Didn't he kidnap
Olivia Benson? He did.
I thought so. Yeah, so she had to get counseling after she got. Yeah. But Law and Order's been around. That's amazing. Over 20 years. I think. So, just food for thought.
A super villain, almost like a super villain in the Super Friends, but not only with superpowers, but just so sadistic, unbelievable. Sadly, there are people like that in real life.
Speaking of Super Friends, just yesterday, Scott gave me permission to come in on a Wednesday to record one of my stories. And I did a story on Georgia Engel. She's the actress that played the wife to Ted Baxter. Remember the anchorman, Ted Baxter, on the Mary Tyler Moore show?
I never watched the Mary Tyler Moore show.
Well, anyway, I'm going with this with Ted Baxter. He's the guy that did the voice to the Super Friends. He's the actor.
You mean he did all the Super Friends?
He the narrator. That was Ted Baxter.
Oh, the narrator. I remember the narrator, but I thought you were
the narrator. No, not the voices of the characters. Okay. No, I'm talking about the guy that narrated the Super Friends.
Yes.
That was Ted Baxter, the actor.
Oh.
And he's best known for the Mary Tyler Moore show, playing the news anchor. He's like this goofy news anchor. And Georgia Engel was his wife. She was kind of ditzy blonde, but that's what made it so funny. And but I mean, he was a serious actor when he was on the Mary Tyler Moore show. And I like the way he did the Super Friends too. I'm gonna play that for you. Remember?
Oh yes, I love it. I miss the Super Friends, really.
And here's the second part. Remember that?
Yes, I loved it.
Here's a conclusion. Something like this. Something like this. It was something like that. But yeah, I used to watch the Super Friends. That was such a cool cartoon. And for the TV audience that don't know the Super Friends, originally it was Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and Aquaman, the original. Then eventually, as the cartoon evolved, because it was so popular, they added more characters like the Flash, and I think it was Birdman.
Oh yeah,
introduced. So, but that cartoon must be about 40 years old, I'd say.
Yeah, I know they had some in the 1960s, and then they had one in the 70s.
The original Super Friends.
You mean the one from the 70s?
Yeah, the first one.
Yes.
The original was just the 4 characters before they introduced all the other characters. There was no Legion of Doom then. Not in the original one.
Oh, so that was was it in the 70s that they had the original one?
Yeah, it was early 70s.
Oh, well, I did not know that. Wow.
Well, I'm old enough to remember that. I was like in junior high school, I think, when I used to watch the original Super Friends.
Yeah, before the Legion of Doom. I remember the
way
original.
Before, yeah. I mean, we're talking about the original where they just did normal crime.
Right, I remember that.
And it was so popular that they added more characters and they started doing more storytelling, outer space, that sort of thing. But it's pretty cool. And in the Legion of Doom.
Yeah, I remember in one of the earliest ones, Superman, for whatever reason, had to guard some air conditioners. I thought that was kind of cool. And I don't remember the plot, but he had to fly up into the air and sit on a building and guard air conditioners. Now that's pretty interesting. That was original. Guard air conditioners. I wouldn't mind doing that.
Yeah.
That number being stolen by some bad guy or something. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm thinking it's at least the original was about 45 years old.
It probably
because I'm 51, or probably would have been 60 years old.
Yeah, I think I was like junior high when I used to watch the Super Friends.
Yeah.
And then they had Wendy and Marvin too, and Wonder Dog.
Yes, I remember them.
Well, they came later too, I think.
Yes,
the original Super Friends was just the 4.
Yes.
And they had, I think it was Marvin and Wendy and Wonder Dog. And
yes, I remember
Flash,
those. Yes.
And then they had all the rest of them. So just food for thought. And stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But Ted Knight, the actor, was the narrator.
Interesting. Oh, the original Super Friends.
He narrated the entire series.
Oh, wow, even the challenge of the Super Friends.
All that was Ted Knight, the actor on the Mary Tyler Moore show that played Ted Baxter.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was an accomplished actor in real life.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't know it watching him on the Mary Tyler Moore show because it was funny when he would be reporting the news. He was just so he would make mistakes. He was goofy, and he was just this goofy anchor man. Mm-hmm. But in real life, he was a very accomplished actor. Mm-hmm. He'd have to be an accomplished actor to be able to play the goofy characters.
Oh yeah,
and make it seem believable for comedy.
Yeah,
like that. And let's see what else. Oh gosh, 35 minutes have already gone by.
Wonderful.
Isn't that amazing? We're gonna be winding it down here soon. I've got it set here. I'll watch here. But that was the cartoon, those Super Friends. That was the cartoon.
Yep, it was. Hello, paper bag.
Mm-hmm. I'm just playing a bunch of chords right now.
Wonderful.
Like songs and stuff. And let's see, I'm kind of having an old man moment here, trying to figure out what to talk about next.
The same here.
Well, it's just kind of
You're old. I'm old. I'm 51,
Well, I'll be 61 here this year, so.
Congratulations. We'll have to have another party for you.
Yeah, speaking of 60s, I think I would rather be 61 than 60.
Uh-huh.
And what I mean by that is because when you say you're 60 years old, that seems so old. Whereas if you're 61, you're just in your 60s, You're not like at the beginning of a decade. Like when you first turn 40, how you always feel old.
Yes,
right?
indeed.
First turn 50.
Yes.
But once you get into it, like say 51 or 61 or whatever, then you're just more comfortable.
Yep.
It just sounds more classier to me, 61.
Yeah.
You say you're 60, it's like, you think retirement.
Oh, yeah.
61, it just kind of goes out the window. But yeah, I'll be 61 this year. And I'll be looking forward to that.
Mm-hmm.
Rolling, of course, and just enjoying my 60s.
Yeah.
It was a process for me when I first turned 60.
Mm-hmm.
For the first couple of weeks, I'm not going to say I was depressed. I was thankful to be 60, but I had to adjust. Because in less than 10 years, I'll be 70 years old. So when you think of in that term, you're like, oh my goodness, I don't want to get that old. And I wanted to be young again for the first week or two.
Oh yeah.
It's just like when you first turn 50. Didn't you have like certain thoughts?
Oh yeah.
So I was just processing being 60 years old. I'm used to it now because it's been a few months, but the first couple of weeks I had to process that.
Mm-hmm.
It was like an adjustment because that's a new chapter in your life, turning 60, and I really didn't want to be 60, even though I was thankful.
Yeah. That means when I was 10 years old, you were 19, because you're 9 years older than I am. Yes.
Yeah, that's right. When I was 19, I was just getting ready to go to the conservatory, music school. I had a scholarship at the San Francisco Conservatory.
Yeah.
I hadn't even met Bumps Blackwell yet. I didn't meet him until about a year or two later. So that's what I was doing when I was 19. I graduated when I was 17, and I did student teaching for 2 years from 17 to 19 in music. And I knew I didn't want to be a teacher for the rest of my life after that experience.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely.
After 2 years of being a teacher's aide, student teaching, I'd go home at night, I'm like, oh, I'm not going to spend the rest of my life teaching these brats. I'll kill one of them kids.
Yeah, exactly.
They'll have me on the 6 o'clock news.
Yeah.
And Asaph just plowed into one of his students.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a rough experience for me.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that, not in a sense of fear, because I was dealing with junior high school students, you know, they're just entering puberty, or they come from a dysfunctional home or something, and they're going through what preteens go through. And so it showed when I was trying to teach them, you know, because their mind wasn't on music, it was like on life.
Yeah.
And you know how kids are. They either, if you're a teacher, they're either going to like you or they're not going to like you. And there were a bunch of them kids that didn't like me at all. And I don't care. I didn't lose no sleep over no junior high school kid. But, you know, you have to have professionalism when, and know how to handle it. And, of course, they never allowed you to be alone in a room with any of those children, which I can understand.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Especially by today's standards. They did it like that back then.
I did not know that. I did not know
I mean,
that.
as far as, at least the school that I taught.
Interesting.
They just always, just for protection, common sense, no room for error. You never go into a practice room or anything with a girl by themselves.
Oh, a girl. Okay, I get it now.
Well, even probably boys, you know, it's better to have like more than one child in a room.
I get it.
See what I mean?
Because when I was in school, let's say I was studying history or social studies, I'd often be alone with the teacher, but we'd have 30 kids, you know?
Yeah, I mean, if you're in a practice room with a bunch of kids, that's one thing. We're talking about one-on-one.
Oh, I get it. I get
it. A girl or a guy even.
I get it, yeah.
And I know it's worse today in 2019, but even at that time when I was doing my student teacher, the band teacher would always say, Asaph, make sure you don't go into a room alone with any of these kids.
I get it.
I always honored that. Because it's not that I would do anything wrong, but you just don't want that appearance, you know.
And besides, you don't want to be falsely accused. You've got another witness if someone wants to falsely accuse you.
But I mostly stayed in the main band room anyway when I was teaching those kids. So
good.
And I did that for 2 years, and you know, like the kids used to scratch my name on the not the chalkboard, but the music stands. I hate Asaph, you know. You know how kids are.
Yeah.
They just do that. They write your name. If they don't like you, you're a teacher, they put your name on a board or something. And after 2 years of being, and I wasn't the main teacher, I was just the assistant. Like they had the band teacher be teaching the students, and I'd walk around the classroom and just point out notes on the page, make sure students reading right, or I'd make sure they're holding their instrument properly or something like that, you know. Just those kind of things. They're answering some questions. And after 2 years, I did that 5 days a week. For 2 years, from age 17 to 19, and got the experience as a teacher, being a teacher assistant. And I knew at 19 that I didn't want to spend the rest of my life teaching. And then I got the scholarship for the conservatory, and everything changed because instead of studying to be a teacher, I was preparing to be a performer. A year later or so, maybe 2 years later, I met Bumps Blackwell, who was Little Richard's manager. I think I told that story.
Oh, yeah.
He called my parents, and I got permission to live with him, and the rest is history. So, you know. And I also have to acknowledge Deke Cannon. She's one of my best friends to this day. I've known her for about 40 years. She was a student over at Loyola Marymount University at the time when I first started playing there. She's the one that introduced me to Bumps Blackwell because her family was friends with Bumps, and that's how the whole thing started for me. I think I was like 20 or 21 at that time. And now I'm 60 years old, still performing. But everything I learned from Bumps, it's still in the head. I don't do, obviously, a lot of concerts at this point in my life like I did when I was in my 20s, but the memory and the knowledge is there. And I could still teach technically if I wanted to, but I probably won't. I'm very sensitive and picky. Like if I wanted to give piano lessons, I've given a few piano lessons over the years, But I'm picky who I choose.
Oh yeah.
And the reason being, it's not because I don't want to help someone. It's because, like, when I was doing my student teaching, I couldn't see teaching year after year to a bunch of children who are going to outgrow it.
Yeah.
And never really use it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
If that makes any sense. So I would rather teach someone that's already knows how to play the piano.
And who's motivated, yeah, not just
and they just want to learn something. And of course, it always helps me because I get to learn things too, you know, and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I'm very picky who I teach. Yeah. And then, of course, even at this point in my life, when it comes to children, if I'm teaching children now, I won't teach unless one of their parents.
Oh yeah, of course.
Or a grandparent or some, you know, family member.
Yeah. You don't want someone falsely accusing you to get your money, you know.
Well, yeah,
like happened to Michael Jackson, you know.
I know, and it's just these are just rules that when I'm dealing with children. Mm-hmm. Anybody under the age of 18, I'll have a parent, especially little kids. Mm-hmm. And little kids don't necessarily think those things, but it can happen. Mm-hmm. So I just make it a rule.
Yeah.
You know, have a parent, and another reason why it's good to have a parent there is because that parent will remember what I teach their child later when I'm not there, and then they can remind that child, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
Because usually people take one lesson a week, which I think is too much time goes by and you forget. I think if you're going to take lessons, you should take at least 2 lessons a week.
Maybe. Yeah,
well,
I guess
because think about it. If you're learning something and you're just a child or whatever, you got 6 days going by, and they're not going to practice all 6 days in a row. They're going to end up forgetting.
Yeah, good point.
And it takes longer. Whereas you take 2 lessons a week, you're on top of it more.
That's a good point. I tried to take piano lessons all through my childhood. I could never get it. I could never understand because of my learning disabilities.
Well,
you have learning disabilities.
I understand that too, yeah.
Yes. The last time I was taking formal piano lessons, oh my word, I've told this story on the cafe before, maybe just a few weeks ago, but it was a humorous story. It was an embarrassing one, too. It was in Clarkston, Washington, because we lived in Lewiston, Idaho, so we went over to Clarkston, Washington, just, across the bridge. My piano teacher, I was a teenager, I was about 15 years old. She thought it would be cool because she thought I would want something cool rather than classical music. She thought, well, they were kind of strange people in Lewiston and Clarkston to begin with.
Okay.
She thought tunes like Froggy Went a Courtin' would be cool, or the Camptown Races, and I hated those songs.
Well, there's a purpose for that, too, because, especially when you're dealing with children.
I was 15, I wasn't 10. That's different if you're 10.
Well, even when you're first learning out, they choose those simple songs because... you can retain that until you learn what it is they're trying to teach you. Here's a song. Tell me if you ever heard this song.
Because I wanted to learn classical piano. I didn't want to...
but see, before you can learn classical piano, I don't care who you are, you have to learn the basics first. Reading. You can read a book, obviously, like the Bible or whatever. But when you were a kid, you had to learn your ABCs.
Good point.
Okay, before you can do any classical music, you have to learn the ABCs of music. So instead of going A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, and so all up to Z, in music it's only A to G. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. It repeats. So you have to learn the alphabet of music before you can play any classical piece.
Because I just couldn't stand Froggy Went a Courtin' or Camptown Races.
But see, that's why they do that. And here's the song.
But why do they make me play music that I hate?
I don't know, but let me play this tune here and tell me if you ever heard it.
If that would be like...
All right, let me play this. Tell me if you've ever heard the song.
That's beautiful. I never heard it, but I'd rather play that than the Camptown Races.
That's in that category. That is a song called Tuna Fish.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful, but the Camptown Races, sing this. Thank God I didn't have to sing it. I just played, but it's like I was embarrassed to be singing. People who would see me practicing on the piano would really think Emmett really likes the Camptown Races. He's playing it for 15 minutes.
No, see, they play those simple songs like that to help you to learn, so that when time comes for you to learn a legitimate classical piece,
they should have just said something instead of. Because what if I don't like those songs? That would be like remember how I hate don't worry, be happy. I would have been embarrassed if I'd had to play on the piano, don't worry, an instrumental version of don't worry, be happy.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
So you wouldn't want to go.
I would be embarrassed. I would be humiliated. Like if someone had been playing that, if they had come in and seen me playing that, said, Emmett Rust really like Don't Worry, Be Happy. And then I get a Christmas present like, it's that album, I hate this. Like, oh, please. Or, I don't like that song. It's embarrassing if it's a song I don't like. Thing is, I'm very partial to music. I either love music or I hate music or it bores me. Like Tuna Fish I enjoy. But
yeah, well, that was just one song. And then there's another song called, actually it's called Hannah Montana.
Well, they probably wouldn't have had that in the 80s.
Well, maybe, no, actually it comes from the John Sham piano series. It's pretty old.
Hannah Montana wasn't Hannah Montana a famous child
yeah, Miley Cyrus did a show called Hannah Montana.
Yeah.
There is a song, a piano song called Hannah Montana.
I did not know that.
It's a children's song, you know. But anyway, you ever watch? We're almost out of time. Have you ever watched Hannah Montana?
No, not my forte.
Really?
Not my forte.
It's not bad for a children's show. It's run by the Disney organization.
Yeah.
It doesn't have all these innuendos. Well, Miley Cyrus was a teenager, I think, in real life.
Oh yeah, she does now.
And well, this is before she became Miley.
Oh yeah.
But she plays two characters on this show. She's a high school student in the daytime, and she's a rock star at night.
Interesting.
We're talking about teenage rock star, you know. It's clean. It was clean. But only her best friend knew that because her classmates did not know that she was Hannah Montana. But they were fans of Hannah Montana, but she played two characters. And they just didn't make the connection that Hannah in their class was Hannah Montana, the rock star. So it was just a cute little series where she always got into trouble, and her best friend would get her out of it. You know, kind of like the typical sitcom.
Yeah.
But,
Filming?
Yeah, we're almost done. Come on in.
Oh.
We're almost done. But I did like that show, believe it or not.
Well, actually, I liked The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. That was on the Disney Channel.
Yeah.
That was about two twins, Zack and Cody. I don't know if you ever saw it.
I know of it. I know.
They got into a lot of trouble, and they lived in a sweet type of a motel or hotel over in somewhere, and their mother was kind of a cabaret singer, was some sort of a singer that sang for this hotel, and they made a lot of good money, but they would always get into some misadventures in the hotel or in the hotel lobby, and it was adorable. It was very funny. There were two twins.
Yeah.
And it was just adorable, and they were always getting into trouble, and they were always in some sort of mischief, and I thought it was adorable myself.
They're probably the same plot line.
Yeah.
Well, you got any final words? We're a little out of time.
Well, Hannah Montana, I think, briefly appeared on that show.
Probably, because I think they all came out around that same time there.
There were these...
here's, while you're doing, I'm going to play Hannah Montana. It goes like
There were these two dishwashers, and they were splashing around a coffee cup. And it was very fascinating. Then this one washing machine came along and said, "Oh, I can't see around that." That's not hilarious. Want any more of the secret ingredient?
I'll take a little one. That's Hannah Montana.
Interesting.
And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, affectionately on my right this time instead of my left, our aging rocker Emmett. I'm your host, Asaph Cafe. Thanks for tuning in, and until our next show, Maranatha.